All right. Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Future-Proofing Your Channel Business Insight and Strategy for the Asia Partners. I'm Kiet. I lead our channel sales business for ANZ, and I'll be your moderator today. Before I start, I actually like to ask some questions, and I'd like to see some hands from the audience. Who was at the keynote this morning? Which partner is going to be the first that gets the AI badge? Come on, there should be more, right? And who's excited about the B SKU, the bundle SKUs? Yes. Awesome. All right, so what I'd like to do is I'm also joined by three experienced, awesome leaders, but I'd like to invite them up and ask them to introduce themselves. Mark, you first.
Hi. Okay.
How you going?
There you go. Good. Mark Iles, I'm Chief Analyst for APAC Channels for Omdio, which you may know formerly was known as Iles.
Rachel Bondi.
Hi, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, well, first of all, it's amazing to see so many familiar faces in the audience, so thanks for coming along to the session. My role is leading the small, medium, and enterprise organisation for all of Asia that covers multiple different regions that we get to operate in at Microsoft. And I'm really excited to be here because I've worked in the US for half of my career, worked more closely with Asia customers more recently. And I think the announcements today are an indication of the amount of opportunity that we have jointly together. So really looking forward to the panel discussion today, and thank you again for being here.
Gustavo.
Hi, everybody. Thanks very much for coming over. I guess I saw most of you in the last 5 months, so great to see you. My name is Gustavo Fuchs. I lead the Asia channel business for Microsoft in Asia.
Okay, so we're here to unpack what's happening across the region, what's driving partner growth, and how can we all help small to medium business and corporate customers move faster and become true frontier organisation. Let's jump straight in. First question to Mark. Mark, what are the big forces shaping growth in Asia right now, and how are these trends impacting our customers?
Yeah, look, it's a great question. Look, we're all here because we're part of that kind of Asia opportunity. And there's 5 kind of key themes or 5 core pillars that we say describe kind of what's driving the channel in Asia Pacific right now. 1, no surprises. You would have heard about it already from the keynote, but AI adoption and acceleration. We have this technology moving at a pace that we frankly haven't seen before. And segued alongside that, that's not exactly rocket science, but alongside that is this drive for digitization in SMB. And we often talk, when you think about AI, and we track obviously a lot of research in the marketplace, when you look at AI adoption rates, they're very similar between the small and medium-sized organizations and enterprises. So we actually have this sort of coming together now where SMBs are really trying to digitize and accelerate at the same level of innovation that we're seeing in enterprises. So we have this really big opportunity. Outside of that, we've then got some kind of disruptive forces, and I wouldn't call them headwinds, but I'd call them crosswinds, which is we see sovereignty coming up increasingly, and also compliance. You know, we talk about the sort of tech industry, I'm sure we've all been a part of for a long time. The tech industry has been largely unregulated for a long period of time. That's been true in North America and Europe, and particularly in Asia. We're just starting to see that change, and I think you're going to see more of that. We think it's a really good opportunity. You can think of it as a threat, you can think of it as an opportunity as channel partners, but that sovereignty, the nature of digital sovereignty caused by some of the geopolitical forces is going to reshape that landscape. Everything as a service, this is really a continuation of a theme that's been happening for the last few years, but we're now seeing over 80% of most partners' revenue sits in that software and services bucket. So we're living in an everything as a service model and an everything as a service world. And finally, cybersecurity is the universal driver. You can't go anywhere really without thinking about cybersecurity. Even if you yourselves aren't a managed security services provider, you're just looking at data and AI solutions, or your businesses in other areas, you have to be considering the impact of cybersecurity. There's a long runway on cybersecurity, and it's just as relevant for SMB as it is for enterprise.
Excellent. Rachel, over to you. Just building on Mark's point, how do these forces fit into the idea of us helping our customers transforming frontier transformation? What are you seeing from partners helping customers to modernize and move away from legacy?
So when I talk to many different customers across Asia, I'm just blown away by how Asia customers really think about not just piloting with AI, but to really embed it into how they run their businesses and how they want to transform who they are. And it's no surprise in Asia that we have more patents being created here. I keep on saying here, but I forget I'm in San Francisco. More patents, more titles than ever before coming out of Asia. And I don't know if you know, but at Microsoft, you would have heard Judson talk about internal usage. And I'm not too sure how many of you know, but Asia is actually the market, and both internally and externally, that has some of the highest usage of Copilot and agents because of the growth mindset that I think many of our customers that we work with every single day want to use this technology. So the adoption, to the first pillar here, this AI adoption acceleration is certainly happening in Asia. And I would say, I don't know, is anybody here that is outside of Asia? Like EMEA or the US, I don't know. Well, that's actually not a bad thing because that's better for our Asia partners, right? I would say that a lot of people are coming to me that are outside of Asia saying, we're noticing how your customers are looking and using AI at a completely different way. So the acceleration is like no other. If I kind of move across to the SMB digitization, that is the segment that I get to spend time with. And I wanted to say thank you again to many of the partners that are here. You service this market extremely well. And I think many of the announcements that came out this morning during Judson's presentation is at the heart of how we have SMBs become these frontier firms or these frontier ways of working. Whether that be the B SKUs that we talked about, whether it be this new Copilot offering that we have just designated for small businesses, many of them are asking me, what's the first step? How do I make this? They don't have huge technology teams, but they want to know through their business leaders, through the management team as to what is the first step and how they're going to make it that. And we obviously don't do anything without a partner. That is our main way of engaging this segment. And these customers really want that first step to realize the value. And we certainly see Copilot and agents as being a core part of that. And maybe the last one, and we all see this, is there's no Copilot or agent conversation or AI without talking about cybersecurity. Most of our clients are thinking about in the dimension of how do they keep their data secure, how do they govern the data, how do they make sure that it's set up in a way that it gets into the right hands of the right people at the right time. And I think for me that is an underpinning. It's not an or, it's a complete and. It has to be around Copilot agents and a cyber offering an approach to how we do it. So a lot of these things ring true to me, and I think it's an incredible opportunity for you all if you think about how you're expanding into all of the Asian markets that we work in.
Excellent. Gustavo, you got any?
Yeah, I think as Rachel was speaking and reflecting on the announcements this morning, also Ralph's presentation, we have been talking about the opportunity in SMB for a very long time. Now we have actual IP, go-to-market, deep collaboration with all of you. We started with security. We just announced Copilot. I'm sure many more aspects will be coming, and we would love to partner with you very, very closely. That's where we see the energy coming along from the company, making sure we not only have the product truth, but we also have the go-to-market truth. That's what we are focusing ourselves in. And the early feedback from the individual meetings we have had even today has been very, very promising.
Cool, thank you. So that gives us a great foundation. Now let's move into specific technology areas where partners are really leaning in and winning. Mark, what are you seeing? What are the hottest areas across the partner ecosystem at the moment?
Yeah, look, probably no surprises here, but when we the data that we do when we look at it, we look at what we call the demand side profile, which is what are we getting from customers, and we do that in SMB and then enterprise, so this is more SMB orientated. But key flavors at the moment, cybersecurity continues to grow. It continues to be a challenge, so for those of you that also work in cybersecurity, it's obviously a high growth area. We describe it as having a long runway. So, cyber is not an opportunity for the next 2 to 3 years. Cyber is just an opportunity with a long runway on it. The types of services that we're going to see coming from partners, though, I think are going to need to change. Just the role of cyber and the role of partners within that cyber community is going to change and evolve as that technology, especially as you start thinking about AI and cyber together. But we've seen for a long time, compound annual growth rates pretty much across Asia in the teens for cybersecurity. So remains a strong driver. And as we say, even if you don't necessarily have a pillar of managed security services, even if you're just thinking about agents and AI, you still need to be thinking about the role of cybersecurity and the role of governance. So it's an increasingly important area, and it's just as important to SMBs, of course, as it is to enterprise. Public cloud services, we continue to see driving adoption in Asia. Obviously, we've been lagging a little bit just based on rollout of hyperscale infrastructure across the various markets in Asia, especially driven by some of the changes in sovereignty. But we do see strong growth continued in that public cloud. AI automation software. So AI and automation, it's probably the one area when we do research into the marketplace in Asia, everybody comes back and says, I kind of want to look at how do I automate things? How do I take these processes? So it's AI applied to business process. And I think that lends itself to a conversation around what skills do we have within the channel to actually meet that demand, because that isn't necessarily a nice, neat package SKU that you've changed your salespeople on. It's actually a business and a consultative approach, but applied to the SMB marketplace. And one that we sort of often forget is we often forget the network, which is like all of this magical stuff that we're doing will just kind of work seamlessly. And actually, some of the forecasts that we've got on networking are we're anticipating a 4-fold increase in network traffic over the next 3 to 4 years, just driven by AI. You can't do all of this wonderful stuff that we do without infrastructure and networking. So for those of you involved in that space, we need to think about that. We need to think about the quality of that. We need to think about the resilience, more importantly. And the one thing that's actually quite unique when you look at Asia is actually take AI and then put that into a kind of a robotic humanoid form. We're at the cutting edge in Asia on a lot of the robotics that's happening. And you can see some of this in digital smart factories and robotics. It might be a little niche for some of you in the room, but we think it's a really interesting opportunity in Asia. But certainly you could probably take these 5, I think, core service offering areas, and there'd be enough here to keep everybody in the room busy for the next 3 to 5 years.
I'm still getting over my Waymo drive around San Francisco.
I haven't tried that
robotics to me, I'm like, very interesting.
So Rachel, I'd like to make this real. Could you share with us some examples where our partners are helping our customers with frontier transformation, specifically around security and Copilot chat?
I won't do my Waymo experience getting from Chase Center to here. Kit and I had to ride with a partner. Hopefully the partner's still okay, Kit? It's all good? Okay. No, I'll take it a little bit closer to home. I think when we talk to customers in SME and C across Asia, they really do talk about all of these different vectors. Mm-hmm. I think the one that I always inspired, and it was a customer who recently came in and spoke to my team about the partnership they have, not just with Microsoft, but also other partners that bring it to life. And it's an India-based company called Mankind Pharmaceuticals. When you think about pharmaceuticals, you think, oh, they must be using AI in their R&D, but they're actually using AI for their frontline sales organization. And the way that they were able to take and provide improved services to the doctors that they support, to the delivery mechanisms that they have really transformed how that organization serves millions of people across India with pharmaceuticals. It's incredible when you hear and you speak to these leaders about what it takes, and it's often not just about the technology, it's about the human and the people beside it, because it was the frontline sellers or the frontline people interfacing with all of these doctors that really helped them determine how best to design the agent experience and implement it. And it was just this constant improvement based on the communication they had between the frontline as well as the technical team. And they also, a little bit to Mark's earlier point around everything as a service, it wasn't just an X week or an X month project. It was a constant reiteration on what they needed for their business. And we're talking over 20,000 frontline service people now using this agent to help them deliver more services within their communities. So lots of customers are thinking about it in terms of all different types of outcomes, but I think the most powerful ones are often in how we deliver additional services to customers and our clients as well.
So just want to now take a partner lens over to Gustavo. From your view, how are we working side by side with partners to help customers modernize their data estate and also really capturing these opportunities?
Yeah, I think, again, we have been partnering with partners for the last 50 years, since Microsoft was founded. So many partners are coming from different directions. Some partners have been focusing on licensing. They are now evolving their business model to provide services. Some partners, they have been either born on the cloud or being service entity themselves. So I think what we are seeing as the big force is we want to make sure that we are helping customers in different fronts. So clearly for us to have AI working for our customers, making sure that they have the right data and the right infrastructure, their data state is very, very important. So hopefully, do I get a show of hands how many partners here do work around Fabric and databases? Okay, that's great. And at the same time, we want to make sure that we are democratizing as the data gets standardized, as the data gets harnessed properly. We are standardizing the interface that all users across that organization can be leveraging that. So that's where we see Copilot Chat and Copilot as the forefront interfaces for that. Not only for them to get used to the new AI. We had a panel earlier today, myself and Mark, where we're talking about AI talent. So any opportunity we have and you have to make sure that customers, of course, in addition to our own people, that customers get their people well versed into AI is very, very important, right? Because people talk about jobs being replaced by AI. What we have seen now is that people with AI will replace people that don't use AI. So we see Copilot and Copilot Chat as that common interface for you not only to leverage AI as a productivity tool, but also as the enabler for you to get agents. And you need to make sure that the infrastructure, the data platform behind that is properly used. So between Fabric, our database, and of course the many Azure services, be it with Foundry, Azure OpenAI, and out of this morning with also having Anthropic models on this, it's very, very important. That's where we see the opportunity, Kiet.
Cool.
And great to see that many partners are already helping customers in that area.
Great, great insight. With that in mind, I'd like us to shift gears a bit, and this is a topic that's always top of mind for me as a channel leader in ANZ, looking after partners. So, Mark, how are partner business models evolving, and what does this mean for the end customer? We spoke about this many times. Like, what is the future of the partner ecosystem? So,
happy to. Let me sort of step out from this, and then we'll kind of drill a little bit. One thing I didn't mention at the beginning, by the way, is if you take our global analysis of the total IT opportunity globally is $5.3 trillion. Okay, that's out of a $115 trillion economy. So we've started super high here. If you come down from that 5.3, the total addressable market in Asia is about 1.5 trillion. Now, it's like, what am I going to do with that information, Mark? What's interesting about that is for the first time, that number is larger than the number for EMEA, which is 1.4 trillion. So we're at that tipping point where actually Asia has become a bigger opportunity from a technology point of view versus EMEA. Now, that in itself is interesting. The second stat that I'll share with you before is 72% of all that revenue flows through the channel at a global level. So that's across all vendors, all across the world, and that we see the same number, actually a little bit higher in Asia. So one, we're in a high growth addressable market, and secondly, this is very much going to be a partner-led market. So when you look at that, we then go, okay, so what's the breakdown? And when we spend a lot of time looking at partners' books, usually with a red pen, and if you look at how that's evolved over time, you see this profitability swing that goes from historically a lot of resale, which went from double digits to kind of mid-single digit margins, perhaps high single digits on a good day with the wind behind you. And we've seen those businesses slowly evolve, and this changes in time across the different partners. One, into more SaaS and more software, which is obviously sticky. It's annuity revenue, you would know this, but that's a really sticky revenue stream, creates a relationship with the customer that obviously you can springboard off. So we've seen that component grow, and you can see that in the stats here. This is APAC responses only, by the way, as well, so this is Asia data. That managed services component, we all figured out also that, keeping a relationship with that customer having some degree of managed security services, managed backup services, resiliency, managed network, whatever it might be, also drives growth. So then consulting and professional services, here's where the leaning is coming. And we describe this, I use an analogy for this, which is, you'll excuse the gym analogy. I think some of us have skipped leg day at the gym. Okay? And what I mean by that is we're very strong on managed services and we're very strong on SaaS and software. And we're not perhaps as strong as we need to be with consulting and professional services. Why is that important, Mark? It's important because this data and AI conversation that we're leaning into now is fundamentally consulting-led. People don't come and say, I want to buy this exact AI thing. It's $9.99. It's a come and show me and educate me and show me what's possible within my business. I know my business and I know the processes I've got. Help me. You're the interpreter of all things out there in the marketplace. Show me how I can apply those technologies. That's a business analyst and project management style skill. And I think for a lot of partners, it's thinking about how do we start to think about the people we need to hire and we need that are going to be close to the customer that can drive those types of conversations that are very business-led. And so for a lot of partners, we've watched them go through this transition and it's constant now, which is how do I go from having really, really deeply technical people, which is great. You need specialized people, but I need people that can talk to the customer in the customer's language and translate it more than we ever have. And so I think we'll see a continuation of this shift. More managed services is good. I think once you start seeing agents and the deployment of agents, that becomes a managed service, managed agent service that people can think about, and we're seeing partners doing that. But this transition, I think, is something we've been watching a number of partners go through, and everyone's at a different stage on the journey as well. But there's almost a maturity to this model, I think, going forward. And those bottom boxes obviously drive more profitability typically than the higher boxes. So we'll also see alongside this, hopefully, an increase in profitability levels for partners as well.
Good. Gustavo, as the channel lead for Asia, and Mark spoke about the transition of the partners, how are we helping partners build this new service line, and how is that impacting our small to medium customers?
Yeah, I think there are three main pillars where we are working very close with partners. Hopefully many of you are already experiencing this. Mm-hmm. One is in terms of the technology enablement, making sure that we are helping you build your respective practices, be a new practice or a practice that you have and you want to reach scale. I think one of the interesting points that Mark mentioned is you have that need to do things customized. At the same time, there is an incredible opportunity. In small and medium enterprises, we have the biggest TAM globally and of course in Asia as well. So the need for us to operate jointly at scale is key. Building that technical capability, that's one. Second, we want to make sure that we are partnering very closely with you in the go-to-market for each one of the moments that you're serving customers together, be it from pre-sales, license transaction, post-sales, and support. Each one of those moments, we want to make sure we are part of that with you, and we leverage our many pre-sales and post-sales programs for that. And of course, we want to make sure that you have the right credentials in addition to the knowledge and the go-to-market. You have the right credentials, be it through designations or specializations to do that. When you put all this together and you unify this together with our new capabilities on Marketplace, I think you have a unique opportunity, and we see very good uptake on partners leveraging this opportunity to reach more customers, be it across verticals, be deeper into countries or regions across Asia.
I'd like to add to that as well. As technology converge, what I'm seeing in the markets, a lot of partners are working with other partners, so P2P. So my recommendation, guidance is if there's a technology space that you have a gap, go and look for other partners in the industry that can fill the gap. It's happening a lot, and so please make sure you do it. All right, let's move.
I was just going to say, I do love this slide. I noticed a lot of people taking a picture of it. And I want you to know, as I think about leading, the team and how we think about this, this slide's really important to me. Because there's not a customer, no customer just says to me, can I talk to you, Rachel, about the software SaaS resale side of it? They're always asking me for Copilot and agents at the moment is how can you help me deploy securely, help me with change management, help me with monthly reporting. It's the same list at the moment. And I think, look, some big customers and some industries want to be bespoke, got it. But I want you all to come to me and say, hey, I've got this X dollar per user per month that would help with the compliance, the security, the change. Because I know that I would be more than happy to be able to say to customers, this is how you need to implement copilots and agents, because they're asking me the same questions all the time, every month. And I think there's something really in this managed service piece that I think there's an evolution of this. It's a lot different of what it looks like in the future than what it perhaps has looked in the past. So I just wanted to add to that, Kiet.
Since you got the mic there, Rachel, let's move more towards what customers are expecting right now. So what are customers asking a lot from our partners at the moment? They're asking AI, modernization, stronger security. What are you hearing, and how can our partners help with that?
So they are definitely, just to perhaps build on, what I just mentioned there as well, is that they want to, obviously, like everything, to be able to listen to, their business needs, and to be able to take AI not as proof of concepts, but to realizing value. And I think then they also want to know what can they do in order to build on the investment that they already have. We would love to see, and this is across all markets, we have such high adoption of Microsoft Cloud. A lot of our customers are saying, what can I do with the investments that I currently have? And one of the things that we're doing right now to enable a lot of our customers around using AI is simply turning on Copilot Chat. Most of our customers have access to it already. We know that they have to think about the security measures, which might mean we have to think about how they implement security. But I think customers are really looking at what can they get out of the investments that they've already made, and how do they make the most of that based on what Microsoft's providing them as well. And then I think the other big part of it is what they're looking for customer zero, like whether that be. A lot of people ask me, Microsoft, how are you doing this? And I thought Judson did a good job of explaining it. But they're also looking at how you're using the technology as well, and how you're looking at sort of modernizing how you're doing your own business operations and support, both internally and also with your customers as well. So I think it's those three, Kiet. It's sort of how do we think about sort of leveraging, the investments that they're already making, or what they already have in sort of their Microsoft investments and platform, as well as how they think about implementing sort of the change management at scale. So they're really, there's no good AI without humans getting behind it, right? The technology doesn't stand on its own. It really requires the human at the center. So very much a humanistic approach to how partners need to work with these customers.
Mark, you spoke about data law, sovereignty, compliance early on, and I'm hearing a lot of that as well from customers and partners, and it's becoming a big deal, right? How is this impacting our partners?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things you can lean into. This. You can kind of run towards the light, and it's a good analogy here, as we're right in the light. You can run towards the light, or you can run away. And the analogy I would use is Rachel and I can start a managed security services provider tomorrow. Rachel and Mark's MSSP. We won't do that because it's competitive to you guys. But if you think about it, it's kind of crazy. We could literally do that and start selling services tomorrow. Now, I think regulation is coming. The UK actually just passed some laws earlier this week that says if you're going to provide cybersecurity services to agencies, critical infrastructure bodies, certain types of industries and bodies, you need to be accredited. I mean, you need to be accredited to be an electrician and install lights in this building. Okay? We've been immune to a large extent since the beginning of the IT industry from any type of regulation. That is going to change. So there's an opportunity, I think, for those of you that do this for a living and do it really well. It's a great opportunity because it will create differentiation. So one, the regulation is coming, whether that's standards. Obviously you've got standards in parts of Asia here, SMB 1001, New Zealand Cert 10 if you're in New Zealand, Essential 8. There's a variety of these, NIST if you're more global. There's a variety of the frameworks you can utilize with customers, and a variety of the regulations. Take the interactives of GDPR. You've got privacy laws now that have been rolled out in multiple countries, including Singapore and China, for example. Understanding those, understanding how they impact your customers will be a differentiator. We're going to need to get better at regulation, better at understanding privacy laws and those things, but it will be a really good differentiator. And on the flip side of that, just going to that kind of outcomes component as well, the other side of this that I think is going to be quite challenging for us to wrestle to the ground is customers aren't willing to pay for us to just experiment anymore. That was the proof of concept era, $10,000, $20,000 on a good day with the wind behind you. That's great. Now that's changing into actually, I'll pay you if it does what you said it would do. And this type of outcomes pricing we've seen years ago from enterprise, right? So after the old outsource contracts, those of you that remember that, we then migrated from those into actually, if you can save me 2% of my operational costs, I'll pay you half of the 2% that you save me. We're starting to see that translating into SMBs, and it's quite challenging for us to think about this model. But this type of outcomes-led selling is going to be more successful going forward. And the term we use here, by the way, is ROI isn't exactly dead. Any of you that work at the larger end of SMC or SMB will know ROI, we're still running ROI business cases. The term we use more with customers and that we see played back to us is time to value. The thing about AI and the AI projects you can do is they're fast. How quickly can you get me to value? Not what's the ROI, not how much am I going to make next year, next financial year, 3 years out. 60 days, 90 days. Talk to me about short time frames and time to value, and these short, snappy projects that get us in that are outcomes orientated, and then turn into longer term relationships with the customers. I think it's going to define this next era of solutions in the marketplace.
I was going to just add on to Mark's first point around the sovereign cloud and the opportunity there. How many of you work out of Singapore or Hong Kong? A few of you. The number of customers in Asia that are coming to us through those two hubs to get access to EMEA at the moment is incredible. You know, a lot of customers in Asia want to work cross boundaries, and they want to be able to work in environments where they can have a sovereign, trusted, secure cloud. The Microsoft cloud is no better value proposition for that. So we're seeing the globalization and how customers want to sort of expand their reach and footprint. And I just wanted to kind of share that because I think that's something that's very, very unique to Asia customers who are looking at expanding globally.
Just following on from Mark, your point around ROI, I'd like to ask Gustavo, what's the practical step would you advise the partners that's in the audience today and even online to help customers move from just trying AI, doing a POC, to actually integrating it with their systems? And also, if you also have any examples you could share, that'd be good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have a lot of discussions with partners where they say, I do Microsoft end-to-end. And I think that's great. We feel very happy about that. But customers are looking for something you have superpowers on, and maybe you have multiple superpowers, but we really recommend you to pick one of your offers. It could be building your data platform. It could be defining a specific use case. It doesn't need to be necessarily industry related. One of the things we have seen a lot in our corporate and SMB space is that there are functions that many companies go across the board. You don't need to be a retailer to have a POS. You can be a telco, you can be a bank, you can be even an automotive company, and you have those services that grows across verticals. So picking that solution and partnering closely with us, which we're really looking forward, Rachel's team, all of our teams, we're super excited to find that one piece of solutioning that you are championing and you can do 10 times, 100 times is super important. I think one recent example was in India 10 days ago, and we have one of our partners who has built a predictive maintenance solution deeply integrated with Copilot for a manufacturing customer. That's pretty amazing because you take the component of AI for predictive maintenance, which has existed for some time, you actually add generative AI, and you allow the operator to use this within their own environment. So we see those examples coming more and more without having to train people, without having to introduce new tools, and leverage something that they can use for their specific function. So partners that are looking for differentiation, partners that are looking for profitability, those are, I think, great examples to follow.
Cool, thank you. Look, we're close to time. I do want to give the audience a couple of minutes for questions. So I just want to close up with a last question. Just if you both, so, or you can give some clear practical advice. So Mark, your top piece of advice for partners who want to stay ahead and help customers become frontier, what is it?
I think you've always got to start with the customer and work backwards, which is, I'm sort of old-fashioned. It's much easier to sell stuff that people want to buy. Okay? And if you take that, I know it sounds blunt, you say, oh, yeah, okay. But if you actually work from, what are your customers asking you for right now? And I have lots of partners telling me the same thing. My customers are asking me, they want to do some stuff with AI, but they don't really know what it is yet. I'm like, then that's the opportunity, right? Build from there. But building specialization and capability is where this market's going to be. The nice thing looking out on the technology horizon as well is, at the moment, cyber, and in fact, everything that's on the slide here, cyber, the infrastructure that supports it, modernization, these are the things that are going to keep you busy for the next 3 to 4 years, easily. Okay? There's nothing major coming on the horizon. Quantum's a little further away, and it's different technology anyway. This is it. This is what we've got. I don't think you can over-invest in these capabilities right now. This is where the market is going to be for the next 2 to 3 years. Lean in as heavily as your P&Ls allow you to.
Good. Rachel, what's your advice for partners that work across the corporate and small to medium businesses?
Well, you know my saying, Kiet. It's partner first, customer always, and people at the center. I think most of you that know me, know that. Partner first means build a trusted relationship with us. Commit to SME and C. We are committed to you. Customer always, bring customer opportunities early. We can win to your joint success. Everything we do in our organization has to be done with partners. So please bring in customers and let's have that conversation around customer outcomes and customer impact. And then people at the center, it's a little bit about teaming, but make it about how you're using the technology. You will attract better people. We know that it's a competitive market. We know that we still need human capital to augment what we're doing in an AI. So let's just continue to commit to people and the use of technology to help create an incredible place to work in this technology sector.
Great. Gustavo, how can partners bring Copilot chat, security, AI together to lead data estate transformation for customers?
I think the good news is that no customer who is looking to adopt AI is not thinking about security. So actually a big opportunity, and I hope many of you are already taking advantage, is that there are many of our customers who are really scared about their users using consumer generative AI products, and it's an everyday leaking company information, and I think Copilot and Copilot chat is definitely the first solution we can put at their disposal. So you have a unique opportunity to bring not only the capability of generative AI, leveraging GPT-5o and all the new technologies, but in a way that you partner very closely with your customer CISO and CIO. So if you're not leveraging this opportunity and you want to remember one thing from this session, is that those customers are suffering from that consumerization of generative AI, and the opportunity is there to help them stop the gap, stop the leak of information, and then build capabilities on that. All the business that existed on building websites and apps many years ago, that opportunity exists now on building agents. We see some forecasts about building 1.3 billion agents around the industry. I hope that many of those agents are with you, and the opportunity is really here for all of us to get.
All right, one last question for you, Gustavo. Let's get specific about Microsoft. What are the top 3 things that partners can best leverage Microsoft, our partnership and our resources to help them grow?
Well, one is us. It's our team here. So if you're not connected to myself, Kiet, each one of your partner development managers, the partner marketing managers, our partner solution architects, you should connect with us. So please reach out. I know many people here, we are partnering day in and day out. But even more important, there are so many resources. There are so many investments, be it the investments we have through our programs, be part of our MCAI partner program. All of those things are built for you, and you should be leveraging. And if you believe there are areas of improvement for us, please reach out, share the feedback. Marketplace is just one more set of tools that has been launched, be it with reseller private offers, marketplace distribution deals. You should leverage all those resources. And we have a lot of data that when partners are leveraging those, you're winning more opportunities, you're winning bigger deals, and you're doing that faster.
All right, we have 5 minutes. I'm going to open the mic to the audience. We probably have 3 questions, time for 3 questions. Any takers? I'm going to pick people. Can you, sorry, can you just go to the mic in the middle of the room, please? Thank you.
And Stephen down the front as well.
Yes, Stephen.
Hello. Hey, Alistair from Spark in New Zealand. This is for Rachel. You said that Asia Pacific is growing in the number of Copilot agents being created.
Yeah.
There's some healthy competition in our region, New Zealand, Australia, and the other countries. Yeah. Are you seeing a pocket that is growing faster than another, and do you think there's some special source that's either culturally or industry, maybe the customers that they deal with in those regions?
Yeah. Sorry, was that the end of the question? Or?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your work as well in New Zealand. I would say, you know, in the markets that we have, you know, there's definitely Australia, New Zealand, Japan continue to be the markets that are using Copilot significantly. That's both chat as well as the paid offerings as well. But we are seeing other markets like India and ASEAN, Korea, really, I would say, in the last 3 months, really start to rebound, particularly as I think Microsoft has focused, and with discoverability around Copilot chat for all the reasons Gustavo just talked about. You know, heads of technology, heads of business do not want their employees getting access to consumer versions, and they are really looking to Microsoft to unlock the Copilot chat components to it. So I think initially, yes. And there was no doubt about it. Like, Japan has always been sort of our #1 market, because obviously language, I think most of you know for Japan, is the language unlock on large language models is just massive. Even my own team within Asia has always been sort of the highest in using the Copilot features. But I think we're seeing many of these other Asian markets follow suit as well. I think the next, that's the last 3 months. I think going forward, the fact that we are announcing a special go-to-market for small, medium businesses this week, you're just going to hear more and more from us talking about the use cases, the industry use cases, the horizontal use cases, the top 10 reasons, the top 10 prompts. Like, I'm sure you'll get to see Microsoft communicate a little bit more in terms of the top industry as well as horizontal use cases or departmental use cases. And that's going to be sort of a way for us to continue to grow, to drive air cover for what you need. What I need is the third thing, which is the support on the data, security, compliance, and change management. So any partner out there, if you're wanting to go into that 300 seat above or the 300 seat below, please let us know what your offerings are. We want to make sure that we're communicating and learning with you so that we can get the right managed service, honestly, out to these customers. That'll be really, really critical. So yes, it's upticking, and we'd love you to be on this journey because customers need your support.
I think, Stephen, good question.
Great session, thank you. Many of us have quite mature managed service businesses around security, networking, cloud. Have you got some real-life examples of partners that have built managed service offerings with AI?
There's your answer.
I think
Big
you have an opportunity.
Yeah.
Maybe you do first.
There you go.
Okay.
Last question. Cool. All right, let's wrap up. Thank you to the panel, Mark, Rachel, and Gustavo. Thank you for your insight. It was really appreciated. And finally, I'd like to thank the audience here. Thank you for your investment, for coming here, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of your night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.